Attention, my beautiful friends. Today is 11th of August, and I'm about to present Chronicles of Destiny. My meme, third meme deck. This time in the Dragoncraft, with the name War of Attrition. Stick to the video, you might actually find something fun. Guys, this is the deck I've been running for the last couple of days. I realized that this is not a Ram Dragon. And this is a not pure Evo Dragon either. It does run Sandalphon. It does run Drats and Alozard. But the deck is a little bit of everything. As you might know, the name itself I gave to this deck, War of Attrition, and that's exactly what it's about. You just blow the board with a bunch of cheap cost units. Sometimes you do Evo the UB just to make sure you keep generating Megalorcas because they're relatively cheap. Of course, you have an Ocean Rider, and on Overflow, it makes the board quite big. Also, we run 3 copies of Stormy, which around turn 8, you possibly can heal restore after 4 HP, which is amazing. And if you play something into Crystal Rune, the way how the game looks like, it's I would say the flow feels pretty nice because you're able to clear all those crystal pawns relatively easily with the Roar of Prominence. You're able to block the board with the Ocean Rider. You're able to block the board a little bit with the Haru, which also gives you a draw. So we solve some of those, you know, inconsistencies if in the deck. If we need to get certain cards just by simply having a little bit more draws with this, by having a heal with this and draw here and here. Yeah, we run 2 copies of Sandalphon, which kinda does what Evo Dragon would supposed to, just get a bunch of Evos, stack it up, and try to finish the game that way. But as I said, this deck is not Evo Dragon, and is not Ramp or I would say any like pure craft. It's like a little bit more hybrid. And when this thing's a little bit more hybrid, yeah, they don't have a defined way to play it, but with this particular deck, it's all about staying as long as possible on the board, getting the deployment at turn 9, putting this beautiful Burn Knight, which again chips some of the damage, like keeps sticking, you know, every single turn, and just simply out-sustaining, out-blocking the opponents, keep spawning these small boards and having ability to clear those boards, of course. That's all this deck about. And today I will try to show some of the footage, some of the gameplay, specifically from the replays which we had over the last couple of days. I selected a couple of replays which I think is worth to note, and let's dive into it. To review some of those replays, you might learn something new, especially against Runecraft and Havencraft. I think those games were pretty fucking banger, and it's worth to really look at them. So let's start with the Runecraft, because as you guys might know, if you don't really run Ram Dragon and you don't able to shut down Runecraft fast enough and early enough, it's really hard, you know. It's really hard to win some of those games. So this is a crystal pawn, and as we already see in the first hand, I have I have a bell ringer, whatever the name is for this card, actually the original one, and we just put it on here. He has to clear it. It gives her a free draw, which is amazing. We have another bell ringer. You guys can clearly see I'm not rushing to put here Ocean Rider because there's no really a need to do that in a way. Ocean Rider, you can probably get the most value when you have a ramp a little bit, the overflow effect turn on, so that's exactly what we're aiming for. Here we got a little bit some poke. Why I put Eluzar? Didn't clear it because I want to stack Eluzar as fast as possible to have a higher defense stats on him, and of course cheaper getting him a bit later in the mid game for a cheaper cost every time he dies and resurrects in a way into my hand. Okay. Okay, we secured the Galmir crest, which is amazing. As you can see, we used the Blazing Flame. It wasn't an overflow, so we didn't draw the card, but that extra 3 HP is really fucking nice around this specific timing in the game. On the opposing side, the Rune Crab player is definitely doing basically manual turns. Like basically they are very scripted, they're identical, all these patterns, nothing is surprising from Crystal Palm player. And here we managed to overflow kind of the board, which is amazing, making a maximum value from UB and Ocean Rider. So here he has to clear the entire board in order to make a move. Surprisingly, he was not able to clear Yubi, so there's extra 4 damage directly into his face, which is amazing for us. And on top of it, we're gonna put here Dragon Eluzard, which is gonna do the job quite relatively well. So now he's in a position where he is a little bit desperate to clear it, and since he's not playing as Spell Boost Rune or Heavy Spell Reliant deck, it is not that easy to clear that 8 defense Eluzar, isn't it? I was surprised, but he didn't Evo one of those shims. The biggest thing about like Crystal Palm Runecraft is that you always kind of in a way don't know how much HP they're gonna heal up back by using the spell, whatever the spell the name is. Let me check the spell name. Depths of the Eld Crystal. Okay. Here we are using it Burn Knight just for extra strict damage. At this stage in the game, he's desperately trying to clear my Burn Knight, which is understandable. He healed quite a lot, which is a little bit sad for us, but you know, life is life. You can't really sometimes choose how things will go your way, and you can only get creative with the station which is given to you. Again, we overload the full board because of the UD, because of the Stormy. We have a decent sustain with relatively high HP. Like I doubt that you can actually get the output like a 20 damage directly to the leader from the depths of the Elk Crystal or something. Spell. And here I think you just run out of the sauce, right? So he wasn't able to respond to that because Eluzar is just doing its great job, you know, in terms of consistently providing some utility on the board so opponent can just hit it directly. He needs to deal with it. So this is a Crystal Rune, and I would say Crystal Rune is pretty easy to beat with this deck. You always have sustain, you always have a way to respond, you always have a board, and this deck definitely in a way counters it. Oh! You're already here? You might forgot something. Yes, you forgot to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and I hope to see you in my next video or stream. Until then, have a great day. Peace. I can tell because I play quite a lot of games into it. Speaking of the second replay, is gonna be into probably Spellboost Runecraft, which is way harder version to deal with. And I've been losing quite a lot into Spellboost. Especially with the Linkai's variant, where he just keeps reducing your HP, so you're sustained in the deck which is built around. It's not really that relevant, so... Let's see how this one pans out, because he ended up as a win, of course. A couple of turns we skip here, because we don't have a decent draw. Unfortunately, have to use here Lyria. Just to force some the response, I guess, in the early game for him. We did ramp up here because there weren't really any decent options in terms of available in our hand. And I have a couple of cards which you can technically ramp up with, but the deck is not really about ramp. It's a rare case when I do okay, here's a UB dropped here. Surprisingly, I actually dropped here double UB. I think just a little bit to overload the board, because I don't want to have a UB in the later stage of the game. It doesn't really do that much, especially against Spellboost, so... Probably it's better to overload as early as possible into Spellboost, because with a couple of spells, like low cost, you can't really clear as like that much, you know, so... So here you end up not clearing half of the board, which is amazing. And we're putting another Ocean Rider, which is the way how the game technically should go. Here we are around the turn 8, and we already reduced his HP to 10, which is amazing. Sadly, in this specific game, we don't really have an Aluzar stacked, and we don't have a Galmius crest. But this is not a bigger problem, because we always have a smaller pieces to play around, which is always the deck about, basically. Having a little bit more options and utility and sustain. To have a decent transitioning until you can slam that Burn Knight if you really need to. Again, we use here Dragon Newt here, which is an amazing card. I do think it has extremely good synergy with the Galmiu. And such a really heavy boards when you play into Warcraft, it does respond relatively well. Unfortunately, I don't have a replay save from the Warcraft games because I didn't have many games into it. No idea how this matchmaking works, but unfortunately I didn't really have it. All the time when I realized to bookmark replays, I probably had I played a little bit more into something else. Okay, so that was the game into Spellboost Rune. It is probably one of the easiest Spellboost Rune decks to deal with. It's not really probably a representation of the Linkai, but because I don't think I was winning into Linkai, so I don't really have a replay for that. Okay, next replay will be a Havencraft. And this one is pretty sure is a Evo Havencraft. Okay, we have a Haru Haru, we have a Jellyfish Dancer, UB also, amazing start of amazing start with the hand here. There's no brain, and we just slap in the called Bellringer, right? I'm not sure why they changed to alternate art when it probably was just gonna cause some confusion to people because Bellringer and Haru is just like the same card. It's just. Here we slam in Alzard, which is exactly what we need. Having a salvo from that early also helps quite a lot. Here I'm basically just trying to... I'm just trying in a way to overload a little bit more, but he's gonna clear it quite relatively easily, like in this specific turn, right? Such a broken card, the Zoe, right? And I'm not sure what to say. Okay, I went Alvar again. Sometimes I would put Kalmu here just for the crest. But since we got Salvo relatively early in our hand, putting us Alazard right after he returned to our hand is probably a smarter choice. Because on next turn he's gonna evolve and give that extra evo stack for the Sandor form, right? This one was a little bit sketchy because we got a bit lucky with the RNG here, but you know, luck is also part of the game and we're happy about it. And here, that's some fun part most of times. It starts with the Evo Haven. When they get this Verdilia card, which gives this effect when you Super Evo, you can attack twice. But it's not a bigger problem, because our Alazard is evoed, and the Dragon Newt does great job at clearing it. This card is very interesting because it gives, I would say it was very low value Evo here. Because he healed by 3, not 5, and unless he plans to put Olivia on the next turn, which is fine for us. We don't really care about it as much. So we went here really offensively, which I would say is a little bit interesting. That was the move by me. And here I expect Olivia, but there was no Olivia, and yeah, thanks to the Fate of the World, I was able to clear that card relatively easily. Despite really wanting to slam at Bar Knight. But life is life. You can really sometimes choose, you know, your turns. And there's another Verdilia. Which surprisingly it wasn't Olivia, because I expected Olivia by this specific timing. And here I'm pretty sure we ending the game because we have a Galmius Crest, gives extra 1 damage per spell. We have a UB enhanced Megalorca by 3, and our Sandy is stacked. Seems relatively easy path to win against Evo Haven as War of Attrition Dragon. So that was the replay for that. Okay, so if we watch all the 3 replays, so now let's look at the Dragon matchup, which is probably interesting. I still cannot recall what kind of Dragon matchup that was it, but I'm pretty sure it could possibly either Evo or Ramp. There's not many variations, right? So our first hand is not that great, I would say, but it's fine, especially around turn 5. We can slam this Kalmiu. Oh, we got a UB. We can also use UB. UB is not that useful into Dragon, because overall flowing the board, it doesn't really do that much, but if he is able to clear it. Okay, we have the Alozard here, which is amazing for us. I'm pretty sure we Evo that just to get some of the chip damage into our opponent. He slammed another Alozard, and I was surprised by it. I assume he was like keep coping. His idea is to keep copy the dead Alozard with his deck. Here we went a little bit more aggressive. And he's slamming another Alozard, which doesn't really do much, unfortunately. And as you guys can have realized, these are around turn 8, we're turn 6, we're reaching about turn 7. And surprisingly, we are almost kind of full HP. Relative to him, right? So, we're just finishing me off with the old-fashioned Galmio, which is very unfortunate for our opponent. But, you know, life is life. The build of this deck that, yeah, you have options. You can play aggressive a little bit more with Galmio with the Intense of Jilnis. You can perma-clear the board with a bunch of spells. You can sustain the board with your leader's HP with the Stormy and the Megalorcus, the ones we generated from UB. You can always block the board and fill the board with the Ocean Rider, and of course you the Megalorca, UB's Crest, and there's just really decent potential in terms of transitioning from early game to the mid game, late game, and basically winning the game. So this matchup we're gonna dive into, of course, the Abysscraft. I'm pretty sure this either aggro or mode. Okay, so this mode might be aggro, because either midrange or aggro. There's a lot of people trying out to play like the midrange and aggro decks in Abysscraft. Doesn't seem it's going so well, because I win majority of my games against them. Well, Abysscraft of course has its like problems, you can't really deny that, but the aggro variant is actually not that bad, but it is pretty bad into more of a Trishtan Dragon. So unfortunately that's just the way how it is. What? Okay. Okay, couple of first turns starting really well. Here in this specific position, he gets a pretty strong board, and I don't really have an option as using the Lambrito. This card is actually pretty amazing because it keeps spawning on the board, and when you mark it, opponent can't really use it, so it is done kind of board blocking in a way, so opponent can't really put anything else, especially if he plays like aggro decks. It does a decent job into pretty much any deck who wants to have like the board filled, you know. And here things get a little bit more tricky because we get Vasaragra here, and we can really target it. So the only game what I have here left is basically try to make sure I don't get poked by Vasaragra. Sadly, we get here poked a little bit. Oh, I do remember what happened. We healed back some of the damage with Jenlis and we buffed the Lambretta. I'll be pretty sad when Jenlis gonna rotate out of the list alongside Galmiu, one of my most favorite cards. So that's like this Chameleon felt pretty early, but he does not have an option because I can just finish him off, right? And here the game just simply ends. Unfortunately for our opponents. So that was the commentary video of the new War of Attrition deck, which we took some time to cook it up, and I had some of the decent results, some really fun games with it, and I hope you find it enjoyable and might try it, you know, because there's last couple of weeks left until some of those cards, from staple cards for most of these decks and classes will rotate out, and there might be a last time you will able to play something like that in this unique meta. So hope you enjoyed the video and possibly see you soon.